I'd like to call this November 2nd work session to order. At this time, we're going to have a quick presentation by the Silver Lake Nature Center. Bob Mercer's here. Bob, want to go to the podium, please? Right there. Oh, you want to put something on the board?
Here, Bob.
Speak from here, Bob. I'll give you a microphone. Here, take mine.
Okay. It's nice to have Ralph not having a mic for a while, right? It's not working.
It is. You don't know it is.
Oh, I just don't know. Okay.
Live mic.
Good evening. This is one of those rare presentations to council that I'm not asking for anything. What the Silver Lake Nature Center is just down the street on Bath Road, and we've got a neat project going on. I did want to say that, I've been there 37 years now, and my 37 years, my vision has been to try to make a facility in Bristol that this community could be proud of, and I think we've done a fairly good job. This next project is really exciting. It's a zero carbon footprint building. It's the first of its type east of the Mississippi. The fact that it is going to be a public access building. Normally these things are houses, and this building is designed so that it's completely off the grid. It uses no heat source other than the sun and thermal mass, the physics of thermal mass. It collects rainwater. It's going to collect solar energy. It'll have solar panels which will provide the electricity, and it'll have an electric composting toilet. Therefore, it will not need to be any sewer hookups either, because any of the liquids that will be going out will be just gray water. So here's a structure that's completely off the grid. It's a really kind of a fascinating structure. It's a very small one. It's got a couple of features to it. The solar panels, what you'll see from the front is just going to be glass walls. This will be south facing, and then the back of it will be berms. Inside we're going to have another glass wall. The front part is a greenhouse where it can grow plants and provide food for the people who live there, or plants for our entertainment. And it's built utilizing tires. What we've done is we've taken 370, I think it is, tires, pack them with dirt to the point where each tire weighs 300 pounds, 9 courses high. Then it's packed with thermal mass, dirt that's insulated behind this, and that becomes the heat source for the building. It's quite a fascinating thing, and we're bringing it to Bristol and hoping that's going to add to the many things that we've done at the Nature Center, which we hope Bristol can be proud of. Anybody have any questions?
Where is it physically? I'm very familiar. I'm there all the
Okay.
time.
As you're going into the park to go down by the lake, if you look towards the Nature Center, you'll be able to see. It's actually behind our intern cottage and our kayak shed. Okay, and it will be a public access building. It will be available for meetings. Maybe one day the council can come and meet there and just hold a meeting there. You're more than welcome to entertain that idea if you'd like. Any other questions?
Anybody in the public have any questions? I know you do a good job down there, and
You need a microphone for that.
I got one right here. Pat gave me one.
If you're going to say things like that, you got to have the microphone.
I said, I know you do a good job at Silver Lake. I mean, we visited there a few times, and it's amazing how many people don't realize what you have down at Silver Lake.
The thing about this, almost all the labor is going to be volunteer labor. This is the community stepping forward and doing all the work. The community packed all 370 tires, built the berms around it. The unions will be doing the electrical work, the carpentry work. It's really a community project. We're not paying a whole lot of people to go out and do it. We're not using contractors. This is a place where people can get hands-on, which is what Silver Lake's always been about.
Now, for those of you who don't know, a couple times our summer camp brought the kids there for the day. It was a day at Silver Lake, and they had a great time visiting the facility, walking outside, having lunch. So the kids had a really good time there.
schools come. The Nature Center has a lot of different programs. I did bring some handouts, a newsletter, and some flyers, if I can leave them on one of the tables.
Sure.
That would be fine, and people can take them.
Amazing.
Okay. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions? If not,
Yeah, Bob, I have a question. You're
Sure.
saying that the tires that go around are 9 high all the way around?
yes, sir.
And what's in between, just dirt?
Each tire is packed with dirt. Let me see if I can get that up there again. Each tire is packed with dirt. They're right up against each other. They're 300 pounds when they get finished. They're really, really packed. So it becomes like a huge brick. And then the next course is alternated, so it's like building bricks, but the size of a tire filled with dirt. So it's quite fascinating. Then it's all dirt packed behind it. So.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time.
Allowing us the time.
Anytime. You're always welcome here. We have Dow Chemical. I don't know who's presenting.
Good evening, Frank Dillon on behalf of Dow. With me tonight, I have Jeff Skinner of William G. Major, and Mark Conley's here from Dow if you have any questions for him. We're here tonight seeking approval of a subdivision. There's currently 17 parcels, 16 of which are in the township, one of which is in the borough. We're trying to consolidate them and change the lot lines to bring it down to 6 parcels and reconfigure them to make sense to conform to what's going on out there. We were at the Planning Commission on the 17th. We have your engineer's review letter of the 13th, which we replied to on the 14th of September. Since that meeting, the engineers and Mr. Salerno met, and based on that meeting, we're representing that we're complying with all the requests or notations made by your engineer. And we were also asked to do an easement, a draft easement. I've done that, delivered that to Mr. Salerno, which he's in the process of reviewing. So I have Mr. Skinner here to give you a presentation and show you exactly what we're intending to do.
Good evening. As Mr. Dillon said, we're requesting a subdivision and lot consolidation. If you view the slide behind you there, it shows the outline of the project area. The Delaware River is at the bottom here and comes up along the side, and then with Otter Creek on the upper end, and PA 413 and River Road coming down along the top of the slide here. Shows the outline of the project. It's approximately 580 acres for the whole project, of which 43 acres is in Bristol Borough, signified by this blue line coming down through here. Also, the project's bisected by PA 413, and which leads to the Burlington-Bristol Bridge. The west area of approximately 300 acres includes the Croydon plant, the existing Croydon plant for Dow Chemical, the old landfill, which has been capped and approved by DEP and EPA, and also the Dow sewer facility is also there. The east area, which is approximately 280 acres, includes the Bristol plant, section known as Maple Beach, which is essentially a vacant area which has 4 homes on the site, along with an old roadway system, undedicated, mostly gravel roads, and also the Bristol Borough sewer plant, which is outlined here. I knew that. The site has been amassed by Roman Haas beginning in the 1900s. This is a plan that goes back to 1936, I believe, showing the area and showing all the different farms that have been incorporated. Otto Haas purchased over the years and created the site. The existing properties is made up of 16 parcels within Bristol Borough and one, the Borough Sewer Plant, which is, the 16 properties are in Bristol Township, and the one Bristol Sewer Plant is in Bristol Borough. Right now, the existing Borough Sewer Plant property lines are not coordinated with the existing fences at the site, and part of the process here will be adjusting the lines to straighten that out. As you can see, the Bristol Sewer Plant is completely encircled by the Bristol Plant property, half of which is undeveloped, and the other half which is completely developed by the Bristol Plant. There is a private access easement to the sewer plant. It comes from Maple Beach Road, a roadway that comes from the borough and goes between the Aqua Water Plant and the new Public Works facility, Bristol Borough Public Works facility. It crosses the Otter Creek at a bridge that is now barricaded due to conditions. It is no longer usable for vehicular traffic, but there still is a roadway that was within the easement that comes down and turns and goes into Bristol Sewer Plant. Most of the access right now to the Bristol Sewer Plant, though, is from the roads within the Maple Beach area that are undedicated, mostly gravel, and there is a portion of the road that comes across here that is not contained with any direct easement. We are proposing to put that into an easement and for the use of Bristol sewer facilities. I'll proceed to the next one. Here's a blow-up of the sewer plant and the area within Bristol Borough. There's the portion of the Bristol plant that is using the property, and then the rest is an open area, trees, and partially contained within a conservation easement that was created approximately 3 years ago and approved by Bristol Borough. The proposal is to coordinate and consolidate all those 17 properties into 6 properties. The plants will be contained within one individual parcel each. The present landfill will be another parcel, and there will be 2 parcels, one on either side of PA 413, which contains all the vacant ground, essentially, which will be put up for sale by Dow Chemical. There is no proposed development of these properties at this time. They're being sold as is, and with the thought that a developer will come in and create some sort of economic development for the site. Also, the Bristol Sewer Plant will remain as a separate parcel with a adjustment to the property line along the bottom there. I'll zoom in on that. This shows the red line is the proposed subdivision line. Along there, as you can see, we are separating the Bristol plant out and providing an open space area for future development. The sewer plant is essentially going to be the same amount of area as the fence encroaches in one respect and is set back in another. So the overall area will be approximately the same for the new property line. We have reviewed the engineer's letter of September 14th and have responded stating that we will comply with all those issues that are listed. They're mostly drafting issues and clarifications with calculations of open space and tree coverage and wetlands. They've been corrected, and we are including that in a resubmission to the engineer this week, as well as including information that we just obtained from Aqua, Pennsylvania about new water lines that were constructed in the area. The engineer has requested that they be shown on the plan, and we have complied with that as well. We've also submitted, as Frank stated, the access agreement for the borough's consideration for including the existing roadway within a formalized access easement so that the sewer plant can maintain their access to the facility. At this point, I believe that covers it. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to provide any answers.
I have a question. The part of the property that is in Bristol Borough, when you're doing the subdivision itself, with the intent of selling it, is any of the Bristol Borough part of the sale, that the intent to sell,
Yes.
to sell it? Excuse me.
Yes.
And
Yes.
is that section of Bristol Borough bound by numerous environmental laws and limited to what kind of things can be done to it?
It is bound by the present zoning code
Oh, Bristol Borough.
of Bristol Borough. The only other additional constraint on the properties are the conservancy easement, which is in this area here, and it's essentially a low area that's in the floodplains that would be restricted to development by those regulations, as well as there's also two easements cutting across the property for the sewer plant outfall pipes. And that's shown on the plan too, and those easements are of record. But I am not aware of any additional regulations that would preclude development of that.
So we're talking just a waterfront property from the blue line, I guess, to about where you drew the line for the conservatory easement?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be right in this area here.
Jeff, I have a couple questions. There's approximately about 44 acres in Bristol.
Yes.
So out of that 44 acres, I forget how many are developable, you could develop.
I have that number right. I believe it's about half, roughly, due to the conservancy easement, the other easements that go across the property,
Right.
and the woodlands and wetlands restrictions.
You could basically, at some time, get some commercial space back there or something like that,
Yeah.
if the buyer elects to develop it into that.
Yes.
The other thing is,
The answer is it's 40 acres in the borough and 11 acres is deed restricted by the conservation.
so we got 29 acres of buildable space back there.
Roughly, yes.
The other thing is, I like to go on record with this bridge, that I know eventually, and we talked to Roman Haas numerous times about this, that at some point with the new owner, we would like to sit down and discuss some kind of access on that road of putting a new bridge in. But there, in our agreement, I think there's an easement that Roman Haas is allowing us to cut through to use the sewer plant.
That's correct.
That's
And that'll-
Draft that you provided.
That'll stay, correct, Frank, with the new owner?
It stays with the new owner unless,
Roman Haas, we have it with Roman Haas.
right, but one, it's going to be formalized and, Bill's going to review it, and it's proposed to stay until such time as that bridge might ever be fixed and available for use.
I mean, if they start developing that ground, they're gonna have to put access in. So at that point, we're gonna have to sit down with them. Just so council understands, this transaction right now, what they're here for, is basically to clean up the lot lines, the subdivisions. anything that gets done on this property after Roman Haas sells this property to the new buyer, they have to come into council, our planning board, our zoning boards, and go through the process like everybody else would for a development. So at that point, if they're putting in some kind of manufacturing back there or anything, we could insist on a new bridge or whatever it takes at that point. Pat?
Yes, Mr. President, I would say that I'm glad that Mr. Mercer's here, and we have a very, very sensitive ecosystem in the Bristol Marsh. And I believe that there's 2 plants that are only indigenous on that whole Delaware River to that area. And I know that there's some conservation acreage. I personally would hope that this council will seriously look at not selling this property because of this particular marsh, which is extremely rare. It only exists in the Bristol Marsh. I'm not going to be bought by Dow Chemical for a vote, for an easement, for a road. That Bristol Marsh is too valuable. And I also think that Bristol Township should be involved with Bristol Borough with these negotiations. And I will not vote for something, and I hope that the people up here won't sell their souls to a large organization for this. I know that we're restricted on other things, but you see what happened in the summer with the explosion over there at Dow Chemical. We don't know who to blame. Of course, no one wants to look at me from up there, but we have several people from this town who are very sick from that explosion. So I have very, very big problems with this property, with this whole thing. We still have not gotten complete detail effect about this whole Dow Chemical, or else I haven't. This flammable thing that went up, this acetane, or butane, whatever it is. We got a precious resource with the Bristol Marsh, and I think it should stay that way. Building within 11 acres of that, I don't know what the hell can go up there. I don't like it. I don't think it's good for Bristol. I don't think it's right for Bristol. They blew in every marsh, excuse me, Mr. Di Giuseppe, they blew in every marsh when they built the deep water for the boats to come up. That's the only marsh that still has these plants, and I want to keep them safe. I know it sounds, what are you going to sell, is safe plants. They're resources. They're something we'll never get back. So that's how I feel.
Don't you am I wrong to understand that whoever bought it would still be bound by the same current environmental laws that are on the book?
Can I interrupt both of you?
Sure.
We don't own the ground. We're not selling anything.
Yeah, that's where.
I think there's a misunderstanding here. Roman Haas owns the ground, and they're selling it. We don't own anything.
I think Pat was saying he doesn't want to vote for the subdivision to...
It's, what we're saying is, it doesn't matter what we're not selling something to anybody.
Right.
They own 400 acres. So
We're not seeking development tonight, we're just trying to clean up the lot line.
Can I explain something too? Jeff, maybe you can help me here. Could you come to the larger picture? About 3 or 4 years ago, the borough attempted to rezone that whole area that we don't own, Roman Hose owns, as conservation. And Roman Hose filed suit to stop us, claiming that we didn't have a right to do it, the timing was wrong, etc. And I think they brought in filed a land development plan for a manufacturing plant. Anyway, as a result of that, that was resolved with a court order basically saying that the 11 acres, you show where that 11 acres is, Jeff? That easement is a fixed easement. I don't know if it's the Heritage Conservancy.
Conservation easement.
Right. The Heritage owns that, but
The Nature
Nature
Conservancy.
Conservancy. So that 11 acres, no matter who owns it, will not be developed. And that's to protect along the creek and that part of the river. The balance of that 40 acres, okay, which is 29, part of the agreement was that it would not be manufacturing, but will remain light industrial, which gives us some control over that. Okay. We don't know what the new owner's going to do, if they're going to develop that or not. One other thing we discovered during this was the only thing the borough actually has in writing as far as access to the sewer plant is an easement from the plant to the old bridge, which of course doesn't do us any good right now. However, we have been using, and Roman Halls has allowed our employees to use the old roadway going to 413. All right. As part of this subdivision, Roman Halls and Dale have agreed to enter into an easement which will be bound, which the new owners will be bound to, that we can continue using that road to 413, or if they develop a new road, we can use that. We can continue using that until the bridge opens. So in effect, we're kind of walking away with a little more than we had before. Now, as far as the development of that land, as Mr. Pez has said, when a new owner comes in, or if the new owner sells it to somebody else, if they want to develop that parcel in the borough, they have to go through the same process. They either go to Planning Commission, Council. If they need zoning, they got to go to zoning. So we have some control over that. Of course, what's in the township, we don't have control over. So at this point, they're really looking just to clean up the lot lines so they can make the sale easier. Even if they didn't clean up the lot lines, they still could sell the property. Nothing we can do about that. But it is subject to the conservation easement, and it is subject to our zoning, which is somewhat restrictive. So we have some protection there. And we're also kind of straightening out this access easement that we obviously need.
One other thing, Bill, you and I have talked, I mentioned that little triangle piece of the sewer plant is in the township, and we're making application in the township also, and I think we'd like you to vote to authorize us to represent you to get that little portion, part of the subdivision in Bristol Township, made part of your property.
Does anybody else have any questions so everybody understands what we're doing here? The only thing is, and I agree with Pat, at some point when there is some kind of development there, we should sit down with Bristol Township and work together on what's manufacturing or whatever is going in there. And that doesn't have anything to do with you guys. All you're doing is cleaning up some lot lines.
That's what we're doing, yes.
Okay, so if you and the solicitor could have that resolved by Monday, we'll have it on the agenda, and then council could vote on this.
That'd be great, thank you.
Thank you. Chief, what do you have for us?
I'm happy to report that today was Officer Carlos Rivera's first day back on duty after his return from Afghanistan. We're as thrilled to have him back as he is to be back and to patrolling the streets and protecting the residents of this community. So we hope his stay here in Bristol Borough will be uninterrupted for many, many years, and we look forward to his patrolling and his protection of this town. The final numbers are in on the prescription drug take-back program, and Bristol Borough, which was part of the Bucks County initiative, participated on the date in September. And Bucks County brought in the most prescription drug collection in the state of Pennsylvania. 5,300 pounds were collected. That was twice as much as Allegheny County and 10 times as much as Philadelphia County. So I think the residents in Bucks County are aware of how to safely and ecologically dispose of narcotics. The proper way, so hats off to them. From November 18th to December 4th, a seatbelt mobilization project is going to take place not only in Bristol Borough but throughout the state of Pennsylvania. So we're asking people to keep in mind, buckle up. The numbers are going up. People are doing it more often. Safety seats are being used, but there are going to be checkpoints throughout the state, and officers also will be writing citations if you're stopped on an initial violation and they see you're not wearing your seatbelt. So please buckle up. Our next involvement, next activities, our projects would be the tree lighting coming up on November 23rd and the Bristol Parade on the 24th. The police department will be involved with both of those projects. And on a personal note, I wanted to thank Merle Winslow for all the great work that he did, the timeless hours he put in this storm. Not only when the storm struck, but prior to the storm, the preparation, when the storm was occurring, and then also after these past 4 or 5 days since the storm. He's been out there, he's been working with PECO, Comcast, Verizon, and not only during the storm, manning the phones in the emergency operations center, but also being out in the field. And I know he's a well-respected emergency management coordinator in Bucks County, but I was able to personally see what he did as I have in the past, and I was proud to be working with him and for him. So thank you, Merle.
Merle, great job, Merle.
On Carlos, does council need to authorize this moving him to sergeant, or is that something we need to ratify that, Jim?
It's a raise in pay, and I would think you may have to.
All right, so let's make that an agenda item for Monday evening. This way, whenever he's ready to move into that position, we don't have to come back and do it.
This is an acting sergeant.
Right,
Okay.
acting sergeant. And
Okay.
the acting sergeant now will be demoted back to patrolman. So there's no additional cost. Okay, any questions for the chief?
I do.
Lorraine?
The residents that live near the Bristol Borough Pub would like to see a police presence between like 1:30 and 3 a.m. On weekend nights. Evidently, there was a fight there this weekend, and it spilled over onto the street, the sidewalks and whatever. I mean, this is what I've been told. And we're kind of hoping that we could maybe see a police presence on Friday and Saturday night. It seems that that's when they're having the most problems. Loud, the stations are very loud when they come out. They're parked in front of, houses are very close to the sidewalk there, and they're very disturbed by it. So I've talked to several people that are real upset about it. So do you think we can do that?
Yes, I'll let the sergeants know in each squad. Go do that.
Anybody else have anything for the chief?
Good. Oh, go ahead, Ray. Just mine very quick. Chief, you had sent an email to me and I think the borough manager about the coming off of Taylor Street.
Yes.
And how there was a tree. I believe you said that it was a tree in the sight line. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to follow up with that because I don't think we really got a chance to discuss that further. So the tree can be removed as far as you know, or that you're saying that's what we need to decide?
It's a healthy tree.
Okay. So that's what we need to decide. So that's what you're getting at there. All right. Well, I just would like us to keep an eye on that
That seems to be the
intersection, too.
only way that you can improve the line of sight there.
Do you guys agree that the line of sight is poor? Like, would it be your recommendation that
It would be-
something needs to be, should be
It
done?
would be an improvement.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Tony?
Wait,
Lorraine,
one second,
go
I have one more thing. What will we have to do to change traffic pattern on a street, like Coolidge Place? The entrance is off of Farragut into Coolidge, which is causing some of the parking problems that they're having with the pub. What will we have to do to change that around, to bring it out the other way?
I can tell you about maybe 11 years ago or so, there was some concern in the Swain Street area, and council was looking at the possibility of doing that, and I went door to door on every resident and took a survey if they didn't mind changing the direction. And then I presented that to council, and then they did make that change.
Would it have to be you that does the survey, or
It could be anybody.
can we do it? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Tony?
Yeah, Chief, recently it was brought to my attention that about a month ago, during that threat that we had for the schools, about a month ago, that St. Mark's was overlooked, that we didn't have a presence there to go and actually I heard that the girl who runs the CARES program actually got a message on her phone, and luckily she was able to act on her own, lock the doors and be safe. I just want to make sure that, that we know it as a council, that this is happening and that we're going to recognize them for the next time, to make sure that they're not overlooked and that we have a plan in place that we have them as part of our program, that we're checking up on them, making sure that building is included with Warren Snyder and the high school and, and the other buildings, that we're letting them know, that there's a threat or a situation there.
Yeah, that day, the officers knew that the regular school hours were gone, but were not aware of the after-school program. And since then, we will be notifying whether the hours are over or not. We'll notify the emergency phone
Right. I
person.
mean, to me, that's the major problem. It's kind of like, you just want to be aware of it. It's like if you're watching a football game or a basketball game and you have refs that acknowledge they make a bad call, right? We want to know that they were overlooked and now we're doing something about it, just so that, the public knows and, they're comfortable, especially the kids that are, going to that school. That's it.
Well, we had a meeting the other day with Sergeant Fate, who was the main person in charge. And the reason he did not notify St. Mark's, because he knew they were already dismissed from school. If it was an earlier time, he said he would have alerted them. And like Arnie said, nobody knew. They really can contact us to say, we're running an after-school program. We get out at a certain time.
Okay. Now, this is again hearsay. Like, I didn't want this I just wanted to be, we acknowledge it. But the thing about it is, when you have kids there, they have an after-school program. So even if they were let out early, we still need to send somebody in there to let them know, just in case, not only just for the kids. If the kids are out, there are teachers there that stay afterwards, right? So that building is going to be open. So there's going to be people walking home from St. Mark's, because, the kids that are in Bristol, a lot of them will walk home. I just wanted to make sure, at 2:20 or whatever time it is that they're let out, it doesn't matter that they were let out. We still want to send somebody over there. Because I don't know if this is true or not, but I know that one of the daycares on Racker Street they were warned or they were given the threat. And then I heard Lennox Building was also mentioned that there is a threat against some of the schools and they might want to put themselves on lockdown. So to me, that one of our schools, even though it's not a public school, one of our schools in our community was overlooked, that's all. And I want to make sure that we cover that next time, whether it's they're out of school or not. We should be able to send somebody over there just to check and stop in there. That's it.
Does anyone else have anything for the chief? Pat?
Real quick, Arnie, what time did this whole incident that Tony's talking about, this shooter that they got, what time did that take place?
Yeah, it's like around
20 after 2? One of the things, Mr. President, I would like to bring up is the simple fact that as council people, I know we're not school board directors, but we still sit in a chair. I didn't get notified, I don't know if maybe any of the other people, officially until 5:15. And I thought that was pretty crazy that all my information was coming from elsewhere. I did talk to Mr. DiGiuseppe III, who informed me what was going on. I talked to Merrill, but I had no communication with this borough about what was going on.
Mr. Dillon, why don't you explain the whole detail of what happened? Because I didn't get notified till after 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I got it at 5:20.
Well, why don't you explain how it unfolded?
Borough was not notified. One of the ladies in the office got a text and saying something's going on at the school, and then she asked, the lady in the office asked if anybody knew anything. We called downstairs to the police station, and the ladies in the office there did not have any information. And eventually it evolved that I think you spoke with Merle around 1:45, Pat, and told him about it. I think that's how he found out about it.
Yeah, I found
So
out,
I
I
think
found
you-
out about it, and I called him, but
Yeah, and what I'm saying is, I guess, we really didn't know anything definite till probably around 20 after 3, when I got a call from Merle, after I had text Merle, after I had text the fire chief, et cetera, asking anybody what's going on. And of course, the chief was out of town at a deposition, so I think, that was just one of those things. If he had been in town, I'm sure the communications may have went a little bit better.
that's understandable.
But I got a call asking me to go over to the ice rink and make sure that was open so we could allow the people to go in there. So I asked one of the ladies to go over and open it up, and she said she didn't have a car, and I said, come on, I'll drive you over. So I drove her over, and, so I think the borough staff, administrative staff was one of the last ones to really know what was going on, so. And once I got back from, and I spoke to many of the residents over there, just telling them, be calm, I'm sure the police have this in hand. By the time I got back to the Borough Hall, I just asked Maria to send that email out saying, look, this is all we know, and I'm sure once the chief gets back and the mayor will be able to explain it. So I can only say you probably knew about it for like 45 minutes before I did, so.
And can I say something?
The other thing is, since that incident, we had an informal meeting, myself, my son Merle, the chief, and Peter Fate, and we decided that all council's numbers will be put on the phone bank that goes out to this when the school has a problem, and they call all the parents to say they're in lockdown. Council's phones numbers were given to the school to also notify us. So, and we're also going to do the same thing on our end. When we have to put out an emergency alert about anything, it'll go to the school board members, because nobody has time during a crisis to pick up a phone and call somebody. So I felt that, talking with Merle, the best way to handle this is when that call goes out, every council member, the mayor, the borough manager, whoever's involved in local government will get the same phone call the parents get saying the school's in lockdown or whatever the situation is, and that's basically all we'll find out until, we move forward with that. Lorraine?
I just want to say, I was there, Pat. I was at my husband's office helping him with something, and he got a text, I believe from Ralph Jr., and that's the only reason why I knew, and
Yeah,
I went
talked
right,
to Ralph.
I went right to the scene for him, because Steve was really busy, and he just said, can you go just, see what's going on, and I didn't call anybody, until, I think I called you, what time, 3:30, 4 o'clock? Something like that, because it was kind of a little crazy, so.
I think the consensus of opinion is that it was pretty insulting to all of us, including Ralph. None of us knew what was going on. And I don't think that it was anybody's fault. I think that it was a terrible catastrophe that happened, and I don't think anybody, we all admitted after the
It's a learning
fact.
experience for us as well, I believe,
We all admitted after the fact that it should have been handled differently, all of us. And I will say that subsequently, when we had the storm coming, that it was appreciative that we all got called into a meeting, and we all made decisions about what had to be done, and we did so as a council. So I think it was a mess that day, and I was probably one of the biggest mouths in complaining, but I think it wasn't anybody's fault, and I think that they've since rectified it, and we decided among ourselves that we'd have a call list, and we'll be kept in the loop.
I think the most important thing is that our children were safe. That's the most important thing, and I want to commend Sergeant Fate for his work. He did a great job in the absence, and I know you were out of town, and I understand, but we should really be thankful, and that you apprehended the person. So that was great, So our children were safe, and I think we learned from this that, to let everybody know what's going on, so, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for the chief? Let's open up public participation. Anybody on this side of the room would like to speak on anything at this time, please come forward and state your name. Anybody on this side of the room would like to get up and have anything to say? And then it's public participation. Okay, Mr. Pezza, what do you have?
Mr. Dillon, on the Borough channel, which I believe is back up and running now, if at all possible, could we get the schedule back up there as to when the meetings themselves are going to air? I know that a few people said they're especially in lieu of the storm, they were trying to tune into some things and weren't exactly sure when a school board meeting was going to come on and when a Borough Council meeting was going to come on. We used to have the schedule, it just seems to make sense, so if we could just get Matt to change that back, that would be great. Other than that, I wanted to reiterate some of what the chief said. I wanted to congratulate Merle Winslow for a tremendous job, and all the first responders. I mean, including the public works who aren't first responders, but it just felt like while that storm was coming, I really felt like that we were on top of it, and just the presence of our first responders, the presence of our public works, and Merle keeping us all in the loop was tremendous. Of course, obviously there are things that you learn from any storm, and we'll certainly take those into consideration and monitor and adjust for future considerations, but I think all things considering, I think the borough did a tremendous job, particularly under the leadership of Merle there. And I wanted to go one step further and congratulate our manager, because when we're talking about communication and we're talking about when we should be informed, and every step of the way, anytime I got a phone call from a resident, and they were numerous times, which is understandable, I knew the answer because the manager kept us very much informed as to what was going on at all times. I mean, texts every other 10 minutes, emails, and it was very, very good for us to be able to communicate to the rest of the community as to what was going on. So I wanted to thank Mr. Dillon for that and congratulate him, as well as Jim's tree service, by the way. They were great. I don't know if any of you
It was
guys
a good
watched
idea to have them on hand.
Felipe, also.
Their operation was tremendous, and it probably won't matter at this point because I doubt this will air by then, but I just want to encourage everyone to vote tomorrow, whoever you may be voting for. That's all I have.
Lorraine.
I want to piggyback off that, what Greg was just talking about. When, the night of the storm, my husband and I came down here, and Merle and the police chief and Mr. Dillon were all in the building. There were cots in the back for people to rest if they needed to. Merle's wife called. Her generator was not on. She had no power. But do you think he left this building to go take care of his wife? I think that was a little dangerous on his part not to do so. So, we have a great team here. I've been bragging, I work in Pennsbury School District, and I've been bragging about our emergency management. Our fire department has been out with there's been carbon monoxide problems. Our chief was here, and Mr. Dillon, I just can't believe the amount of texts that we got, like Greg was saying, and emails. And, people can't believe how great you guys are. They think I'm crazy, but I just really want to thank you for a job well done.
Can I just say one more thing? That being said, I know that Lorraine and I certainly recognize, and everyone was hit pretty hard by the storm, but certainly the East Ward was without
Yeah.
power for a very long time, and that is not to say that we're not sympathetic to those people that were without power as early as today. And, you know, I think we've done everything we could do to push PICO. The crew that was in town, at least the ones that I spoke with, were from Illinois. I mean, that just kind of goes to show you where PICO was on that whole thing, having to bring people in. So, although we are certainly touting the job our first responders did, we certainly are still sympathetic to the fact that many people were without power for a long time.
There's also a couple people still out in our ward at this time, but Mr. Dillon's on that, so. I have a question. Donofrio, the building on Farragut Avenue, can we get him in again for a meeting to see what we can do about that building? About that little lot there, and maybe see if we can pave it and fix the building. It's an eyesore. So we've talked to him twice already, so I think maybe one more.
Mr. Donofrio, yes.
Yeah, and we can have Greg and I there, and whoever else needs to be there for that. Thank you.
Is that it, Lorraine?
Yes.
Tony?
Yeah, I have a couple things. The first thing is actually a question. Somebody in the community asked, how do we designate the ball fields as a drug-free zone? Anybody?
I thought it was only schools.
You can erect signs, but there are laws that enhance sentencing if drug transactions are done within so many feet of the school. I don't know if you would need to erect those signs by ordinance or just put them up.
So it would be, but only be for show. It wouldn't have any effect on, on sentencing or anything like that.
No, it would. You don't even need a sign. If someone does a drug transaction 500 feet or so from Snyder Girardi.
Right, from a school, but I'm saying that the baseball field, I mean, since we found, see, the thing I want to do is somebody, actually, is one who asked me about it, somebody in the ward that asked me, is just the idea, when we had those needles and we found them in the dugout, is I want it to be, kind of like a deterrent. Like if they see it, they know around schools that their sentencing would be harsher.
Well,
So they wouldn't go shoot up on the school property.
I'm not sure if it's 1,000 feet or 2,000 feet. I'll look that up. But if you go as the crow flies, from the high school to the ball fields, you might fall within that.
No, okay.
I'll look that up.
All right, I appreciate that. And then the second thing I would like to do is, I want to put on the agenda for Monday to put Jeff Manto as an alternate on the Recreation Board. I would like to, I talked to Jeff, and I think that Jeff would do a great job, and he has some ideas about, getting some programs implemented in the borough. And I just think, as a borough resident, he is an asset to everything that we do, especially when it comes to recreation and sports. So anything that we do that way, I would love to have him and put that on the agenda as an alternate for the Recreation Board. And on that note, actually, if we could get Matt, I don't know, should I just contact Matt myself about getting all the boards and committees updated on the website? Because I went on there today just to look at the Recreation Board, and I know there was a couple of people on there that aren't on it anymore. I think Rick Penalty is one of them, and I don't think he's on it anymore. So,
Okay, we'll check.
okay, you want me to send him an email also? Or you?
He's listening to you right now.
Okay, all right, Matt, you got anything, Mike? That's it. That's all I have.
If Mr. Salerno could please keep me advised as his talkings with Dow Chemical, I'd greatly appreciate that. Is that okay, Mr. Salerno?
Regarding what?
This whole thing that they want to do with the relining or redesigning or lining up the property lines.
Well, let me tell you what's going to happen. On October 11th, Kurt and I met with their engineer and with Mark Connolly to go over the issues that Kurt had outlined in his review letter. And for the most part, they said they would comply. There were a couple other things they needed to do. So they need to submit revised plans showing those changes. Kurt needs to review that to see that they've complied. And then the only other outstanding issue, there might be one other, but the main outstanding issue is this easement agreement we're going to have with Dow, that they're going to continue to let us use that road out to 413. Once all those issues are resolved, then it's going to be presented to council, at which point, if they've complied, I'm not sure council has any alternative but to approve the subdivision. So we'll be working on that easement. I think Kurt just received it this morning. We'll be reviewing that in the next few days, and he needs to determine whether they've complied with all the other requirements.
Okay. Number two, as you've been reading the paper, I was wondering maybe if Monday night's meeting, we could bring Bob White in and get a little better understanding of this new company that took over the Lower Bucks Hospital and is getting rid of the maternity ward and should be shutting down a lot of the cardio heart areas. And I believe the redevelopment authority gave $12 million, that's tax dollars I'm assuming, to this group to buy this hospital. And what do we get for it? I know if you're pregnant, you have to run up to St. Mary's to deliver a baby. I really would like to have a little bit of a better understanding of the allocation of money and why wasn't there any stipulations of, keeping people on the job.
Pat, I can tell you one aspect of that is, I think, murky, and that is that they didn't give the $12 million to the guy to buy it. They gave the $12 million to the hospital to stay open. And then even after that, the hospital, after a few months, said we can't stay open. So their option was the hospital closes or the guy buys it. Bob can obviously expand upon all of that if it does come in. But.
Yeah. If it's possible, if you can get in.
Well, the guy that's running the hospital, I invited to speak at our November, December meeting to let everybody in town know what's going on, where they stand, what their intentions are. So I don't know if they're taking us up on that offer or not, but...
It's pretty scary for someone that's pregnant that lives in Bristol Borough that if they're, they have to go all the way up to Newtown to deliver a baby. I think it's, everybody here was probably born in Lower Bucks Hospital. And so that's, and also I'd like to thank Merrill Winslow for doing a great job with this hurricane. Hopefully this next storm that's coming up will go out to sea. And also during the problem with the shutdown of the schools, that the president of the school board was available on phone, which really helped out.
Robin, you have anything?
Just two small things. I noticed that a lot of residents in the West Ward raked together all the leaves that had fallen into the street. And at the corner of Cedar and Market, Mr. Dillon, there's huge piles on both sides, on the corner of Franklin and Wood, and the corner of Franklin and Cedar. So I think we need to get somebody to get out there. The streets are clean of the leaves so that the residents, and I actually saw a few of them out there, sweeping all the leaves into a big pile. It's not leaves from their yards, it's leaves in the street. Also, there's a terrible dip at the corner of Cedar and Mulberry, and another really bad dip at Cedar and Walnut. So if you come up Cedar Street, when you hit Walnut, you have to slow down considerably. And then again at Cedar and Mulberry. So you may want to have George take a look and just see what the cause of that dip is. And that's all.
Mayor, you have anything?
I'd just like to thank Merle for what he did during the hurricane season. And I myself personally put 500 miles on my car and a tank of gas riding around town during the hurricane, making sure everything was okay. My wife and I went to the center to make sure that the deliveries for the food for the seniors that get delivered every day, we make sure that they were delivered. The senior center was closed, but however, we did go over there too. Even though they didn't have power, they do have gas.
You were here too, I forgot.
Also.
You were here also.
But
May I have one more?
I understand we only have 14, there's 14 homes right now without power in Harriman?
Down to two.
Two.
Down to 2? Okay, 14
Down
is
to
They're not your
okay.
people, Ralph.
But I think there's another thing we better maybe discuss Wednesday night, Halloween, with the storm coming.
Oh,
What is this projected storm?
Heavy rains and windy.
Wednesday and Thursday, it's going to be way in the bag and some rain. It's
Possible snow.
more likely to catch more of it than anything. North and west is going to be all the time.
you may want to tell your children, just buy them candy and eat it at home. These poor kids are never going to get a Halloween, right?
Plus, I got 10 bags I gotta give.
Yes.
That's all.
And we should move it again, or?
And maybe we should discuss
I think
it
people
in
will
private.
freak out.
People will
Yeah,
freak
you know
out.
what, let them have it. If
Let
they
'em have
want
it,
to walk
just-
their kids in
let's
the
just
rain, let them walk them in the rain.
Advise them to be safe. That's all we can do right now.
I just have a couple quick things. One, during the storm, I think we were very fortunate to be able to operate for the length of time we did because of the direction this council took in authorizing generators for this building and for the Public Works facility. But we would have a police department in the dark and a borough building in the dark. That generator ran for almost 4 days on each facility to keep us up and running, which made our borough workers able to go out and do an outstanding job to clear this town. But it was the decision of the manager to send out tree service, can't think, Jim's and Felipe Baracall to clear all the branches and trees that were down for the wires, because once that happened, Mr. Dillon and Merle were able to get in touch with Pico and say, our town is now clear, send all your trucks in, you don't need tree removal or anything like that. So I think that speeded up the process a lot, but our borough workers did such an outstanding job that by Thursday they were caught up when other towns were still buried. And I just want the council to know that on Thursday, I called the president and council of Bristol Township because they were still, even as of today, they have areas of Levittown without power. And I offered a helping hand to them and saying that we're caught up, not 100%, but where there were trees down didn't affect the residents. And if they were interested, we would send our borough workers to Bristol Township under their direction to help clean up Levittown with our chippers and, our street and highway department. And they were very honored that that phone call was made on behalf of this council. So I just wanted you to know that it meant a lot to them. They didn't need to bring our guys in, but they were very thankful for that. We extended that offer. Today I had the opportunity to visit Long Beach Island, and Merle was also on the island, and I know we were inconvenienced without power, but if you see the devastation and destruction that that island and probably all these shore points has gotten, it's just mind-boggling. I mean, there's houses upside down, there's boats turned over, there's people that lost everything. I mean, we lost power and we're very fortunate, and, shore homes are one thing, but there's people down at a permanent residence that neighbors of mine that I spoke to that were sitting there going through yearbooks and pictures of their family that they can never replace again, that they lost everything they own in this hurricane. So we were very fortunate as a town to escape the damage that other towns were hit with, and including Levittown. I mean, every other tree was in somebody's roof. So, I mean, you know, I know we didn't have power, and everybody did what they can do, and Merle stayed on top of the situation 24 hours a day, and so did the manager, but, you know, we were very lucky with this storm, and fortunate. Ken, what do you got?
Okay, on your agenda for consideration,
Excuse me, I have one more thing. The request from the Bucks County Rescue Squad that we decided that when they purchased a new ambulance, we would donate $5,000 a year to them for 5 years to $25,000. The ambulance, the 2012 Ford, has been delivered, and it has arrived and is now in full service to service the community of Borough, and they're requesting their payment. I'm requesting council puts this on the agenda either for November, but to give them their payment in December at our Christmas meeting, and maybe that could become a yearly thing for the next 4 years after this, to give them a check at Christmas. So, nobody has a problem with that. We can vote on it now, send them a letter and say, pick up your check at the December whatever meeting. Pat?
Let me get back to it.
Jim?
Excuse me.
Pardon me.
oh, okay.
Wrote it down.
On the agenda for Monday night, it's proposed that we have a request from the developer of the NovaCare land development, who's requesting a 6-month extension. So it'll be on your agenda to authorize the extension for 6 months for that land development. Also, the Amish land development plan expires the end of November. Mr. Salerno is trying to work out some details with the applicant. If it cannot be worked out, it'll be recommended Monday night that a further extension be granted by council. Also, there's a proposed resolution authorizing the purchase of 1012 Chestnut Street from the estate of Robert Bailey in the amount of $60,000. So it's for 1012 Chestnut Street.
Jim, where will that money come from?
It's proposed to be taken from the Capital Improvement Fund.
That's the $1 million we got from the refinance of
From the refinancing, yes.
Okay. So we bought, the last property we bought, the $57,000 we used, and now we're using another $60,000. I've already expressed to you concerns about, and I know we have to do this, but I just want to be really careful about spending that money. Not saying not to do it, just that I'm concerned about spending the money.
Robin, I feel the same way. I think it's something that, you know, that we have to do, but the concern is we're putting money, we're losing on both ends right now in the short term, is that we're putting money out that's costing us, and then we're losing that tax base for the houses that we're buying. So by the time we buy up all of Chestnut Street and Elm Street, you know, we're going to be getting hit both ways. I would like to have a better idea of what are the plans for it. After we purchase these properties, is this going to be a park? Is this going, what are we buying this property for? I mean, that's the question I have for really everybody on the council. I think it's something, you know, the area is very close to my heart, you know, growing up on Elm Street and Chestnut Street. we used to battle, Elm Street versus Chestnut Street, and all kinds of things, but, it is a dilapidated area, and it's not getting any better. But I also would like to know, we're spending money, what are our plans for it? So I think that's something I would like to discuss, as a council.
I think our plans were, 4 or 5 years ago when we started this process, was not to be aggressive on either street, to anytime there's a property that comes up for sale, to purchase it, and the council voted unanimous at that time to move forward in doing this. And eventually, when everything was done, we would put it out as a redevelopment zone and have somebody coming in either to do a mixed use, maybe some commercial, maybe some residential, just put out an RFP and see what somebody would be interested in doing in that area. Because one new home in that area would probably pay more taxes than maybe 6 or 7 of them. I don't know if you ever looked up what they're paying for taxes in them areas.
Probably wouldn't think of it.
Couple thousand, it's not much. So, I mean, what we're losing and what we're gaining, to me, is not even a question.
Right, eventually.
The
But I'm
benefit
saying-
down the road.
Right, the short term, I'm talking
But
about.
if you don't purchase them, you're going to keep having slum landlords purchase them and keep putting, it's a shame they take advantage of the people that live there, because we have a lot of landlords that are just pigs, and real estate agents that keep purchasing homes in that area and don't care what happens to it. That's my opinion.
And I want to clarify, I was
And
one of
as
the...
far as the money, the $1 million that we have really hasn't been touched because we had extra money in the capital improvement program. But when we decided this as a council, we decided even if we didn't have money, we should go borrow the money to purchase these homes and make that a redevelopment zone. So if we want to leave that money untouched, that's fine. We could just go out and borrow whatever and pay through debt service. But I think it's definitely something that needs to be, continuously we need to stay on top of. And like I said, we're not forcing anybody out. There's still a lot of good people on them streets, and they can stay there, maybe, this council, maybe another 20 years from now before everything's purchased in that area. Who knows? It's just we've been fortunate over the last so many months that some of these properties came up, but we also had an opportunity to buy 3 of them, and as far as I'm concerned, we got
Yeah, the shaft.
out of them, so.
May I just reiterate that I was among the unanimous council members who thought it was a good idea to purchase the properties that were blighted. But again, I'm just going to keep an eye on that $1 million. I'm just very concerned about that money being spent, so I want everybody on council to know when you purchase one of these properties, that's where the money's coming from. It was simply a comment, it wasn't any
No, but I'm
disagreement
just
about
saying,
doing
if
it.
you want to leave that money in that account, we can. And part of that money was supposed to be spent on things like this. So, but it doesn't matter, I mean,
I have a comment.
what's that? Okay, no.
Okay. I have know someone that lives on Pond Street, and their property backs up, the alley backs up to Chestnut's Alley, and they have so much trouble. They can't even get out of their cars because they have children, and there are pit bulls that come out, because there's no fences there, yet they have a pit bull, 2 or 3 pit bulls that come out and pin the lady in the car, and she can't get out with her kids. I mean, it's such a bad spot right now, and I'm glad that we're able to buy another property there, because this person is thinking about moving now out of Bristol because they're so disgusted with what's going on back there.
I remember what I was going to say because I got a little bit lost there because all in a rush. Okay, it's November the 5th. When are we going to start doing our budget?
I'm going to announce that
There you go.
once we get all done.
Okay.
Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, there was some storm damage to the wharf area, the roof, the one quadrant. We've covered that up today so that with this storm coming, we won't get any additional damage to the wood there. We're getting an estimate on the repair of that section and really the entire wharf area. So that was one piece of damage that we did receive. We also received an email late today from DEP asking if we had any additional sewage capacity available because parts of New Jersey may need some additional sewage capacity. So we're working those numbers out at the moment. So that's how bad things are when they're willing apparently to truck sewage from New Jersey, maybe even Staten Island down into this area. But we do have some capacity, but I think really that's one of the things besides the heat and whatever is the sewage treatments of these towns that have been ruined at the moment. But that's just a sidelight. I met with Bob White today at Mill Run. They're trying to get the mill run cleaned out, the combustible items, so that we can shut down the sprinkler system. Right now, we've shut the heat off, and we have to get the combustible items out of there so we can deactivate the sprinkler system. It costs about $10,000 a month to heat that facility, so that's what we're pushing to get done, as quickly as possible. So bringing in like an auction company that will auction off or purchase much of the material. And I think I understand some of the beds may even be going to Haiti, but that's a process we're trying to, go through as quickly as possible. The fall leaf program starts this Wednesday. It's been advertised in the advance. It'll be on the cable network, and also Maria will have a copy of the information in your packet. Also, the Pennsylvania State Associations of Boroughs will be holding a training class for municipalities, and the subject is winter maintenance operations, and they've asked to use our new public works facility, so we'll be like a regional center for that day. So I think they're very impressed also with the facilities, and so it's...
You know what kind of honor that is to host something like this? I mean, usually you're going, out of Bucks County, you're going somewhere else. To have a facility like this that we can host this kind of a training seminar.
Street sweeping, I'd recommend that council authorizes that this street sweeping program cease in terms of the enforcement of the signs on Friday, November 16th. That's the week before Thanksgiving. We hope to be able to get all the leaves up, prior to that time. So if there's no objections, we'll, implement that. That's, I don't, Tony?
Yeah, did we ever do a program where we had people just put all the leaves in the street and then we go suck them up? Did we ever do something like that?
We don't think we can handle that many people raking them off of the yards and all.
I remember, I don't know if I saw it here or another.
Then he would pile them up.
You gotta worry about the drains, though.
That's a bad subject.
Timing was so hard to
Yeah.
be on the street at this time.
I used to put them on Monroe Street, no?
I just remember.
But the
Jim.
leaf pickup will be published on,
It's on there now.
Yeah, it starts Wednesday, where if you put your leaves in brown bags, biodegradable bags, and the mascara will pick up the leaves for the next 6 weeks.
on regular trash days.
No, on a Wednesday.
On Wednesday,
Yeah,
okay.
regular.
Every
trash.
Wednesday for 6 weeks, you could put out the trash bags.
Any borough resident.
Any borough resident, and you can buy them at CBM on Bed Street.
What, the bags? The funny thing is, you might be able to buy them there, but you can't get them at Home Depot, you can't get them at Walmart, they're all sold out, so.
CBM has them.
Bristol Borough.
Buy local.
We have,
You don't even have to leave town.
Mr. Polyafco has submitted his letter of retirement
How do we
effective
submit?
January 2nd, 2013. So I'd request council accept that letter of retirement at this time, so then that way we'll start the process with his pension and pension paperwork. So if there's no objections, I'd request council accept that letter of
Can I ask you a
retirement.
question about that?
Go ahead.
When someone retires, like Mr. Polyafco is, with the pension, that's all laid out in advance, right? There's nothing that we will be looking at with his retirement, it's just, that's all.
All part of the union contract and the pension agreement.
And it's all done by an actuary.
Yep.
It's all, we don't do anything.
Yep, okay.
On your desk was the proposed agreement with the firm that the borough's used for a number of years to prepare the 2012 recycling grant, so I'd like to place that on the agenda for Monday evening also. We've had the engineer prepare designs for handicap curbs for a number of intersections. We've received quotes, and I awarded the quotes because it's within the bid limits for a number of handicap curbs, and I'll read them to you. We had expected the work to start last week, but with the hurricane and all, we're not sure when it's going to happen. I was trying to push for those dates today. I haven't gotten a date, but first contract was awarded to J.T. and Sons for installing handicap ramps at Inlet and Spring, Jefferson and Spring, Jefferson and Madison, and that was based on a quote received in the amount of $12,543. The second award was made to R&S General Contractors to proceed with installing handicap ramps at Wilson and Madison, Wilson and Adams, Wilson and West Circle, and Wood and Fillmore in the amount of $16,900. So hopefully they can get done this year before the winter sets in. And, next year, one of our goals is to try and get the ramps done around that monument in Harriman also.
I just have one question, and I'm going to direct it to Pat. We're going into the winter with salt trucks and everything like that with new cement. Is this stuff going to pop? Should you put some kind of special sealer, or should you wait until after the winter?
Well, right now, there's a sealer out there. It's expensive. I think the only place you can get it is at Concrete Services in Conshohocken and Wharton Supply down in Pennsauken. After the concrete's done, you cure it. It kind of leaves like a polyurethane on it for a while. That should be investigated before I think we do the work, because if we can't afford to say that it's an incredible amount of money for a 5-gallon drum, I don't know. That's a question that we ran into a while ago, and but everybody's looking to get handicap ramps done, but we're going to get inundated with snow and with salt. I mean, it's like a juggling act. I would recommend that they would call Concrete Services in Conshohocken. I'm sure both parties are affiliated with them, and Wharton Supply in Pennsauken, to get an idea of what's out there for salt. There is a cure now for salt.
Jim,
Check it out first thing tomorrow.
how are the locations for where the handicap ramps Who
They
determines?
started out with Mr. Waldron, like the Jefferson Avenue ones were by the ballpark. That's why he felt that they should be done. And I understand on Wilson, there's a handicapped person that goes to school or something, and that was,
We have some handicapped people in the West Ward also, so.
I got some in the South.
We got some in the South Ward too. I mean, it wouldn't do any harm, I don't think, to do, if you're going to do
Maybe
four.
Have them near the schools. I believe they have to be put near the schools first. That's the impression I was under, that almost, and that's why we have a few handicapped children that are now coming to the high school. So I know, I'm just,
I would hope that maybe next year in the spring, we can do a bunch of them, and then in the fall do, so we everybody get their list where they think. But right now, we are focusing on Wilson Avenue because of, one, the school and this handicapped student, as I understand.
And, all right, but just out of curiosity though, like, how was that determination made? You're saying as you understand it. So
I'd
is it
have to-
George who makes that decision?
Yeah, George
Okay.
brought these curbs to my attention, yes.
Okay.
George.
What else you have to do?
One, I'd like to thank Merle and everyone else that helped out. I think we did well in this storm. Could have been much worse, and we're going to critique the whole storm thing to see how we can improve. I mean, and hopefully we won't have another one, but we will be evaluating and trying to improve on the overall matter of hurricanes, et cetera. The last thing, Mr. Di Giuseppe asked me to see if I can come up with some dates for budget meetings, and I'd like to propose Monday, November 19th, and Tuesday, the 20th, and then also the following Monday, if needed, the 26th. So,
Does everybody have a problem with going 2 nights, but you want to go 3 nights in a row? You want to go Monday, Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday? You want to go,
I can't do Tuesdays.
neither can Betty Tuesdays, she works
you want to go,
Tuesday night.
you still got school?
Yep, until December.
You want to go Monday, Thursday?
That works for me. I mean,
that's Thanksgiving, that first Thursday, so.
we go Thursday, Monday.
Are you off Wednesday before Thanksgiving?
Some of us have to cook. I mean, come on.
Try the 19th and the 26th. Take it from
Miss the week, miss the 19th.
No, do the 19th, that's a Monday. I think everybody can do that Monday, the 19th, and then do the following Monday,
Okay.
the
Go the
26th.
following Monday and Thursday, if needed, Thursday.
Monday, Thursday.
Monday, Thursday.
And Jim, are you going to have anything for us before the first meeting?
Oh, I'm trying.
I know you're saying yes.
Try to get something out. We'll do on the first night, like we do every other year since we've been here, we'll go through every page of the budget, and then when we come back, see whatever recommendations you guys want to make, either to cut, add, subtract on that page. So basically, we'll just get familiar with it, and then start seeing how we're going to proceed. Yeah.
Nothing.
Anybody else have anything? Merle?
I just wanted to thank all the emergency service people, fire, police, EMS, for the cooperation that we got. I thank council and everyone for your compliments about the job that I had done, but I'm only one person, and if this storm had happened in 2003, this council chamber would have been packed tonight with people wanting answers, because back in 2003, in the old building, we had a generator in the basement that ran the wall pack lights in the hallways. I had virtually in 2003 a pen. I didn't have a phone, I didn't have a laptop, I didn't have a computer, I didn't have a place to sit down to do anything. And when Jim Dillon came, we had a meeting, and he said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm the emergency management coordinator." And he said, "Where's your office?" And I said, "I'm sitting in yours, and I can set up in here if you need me." And from that point on, Jim started. First thing I got was a digital radio that I could talk to the county with, which we didn't have any communication. Eventually, I was using my own cell phone. He got me a borough cell phone. That proved invaluable for this whole operation. Everybody that I had to contact and talk to, it was just something that I really had to get things going. And we secured 3 pallets of food for the Bristol Food Bank. And we dropped that off. The efforts of the fire company helped us unload that. We got a pallet for over here at the senior center, the ready-to-eat meals, if they needed them. But when council did the development of this building, and they took into consideration that we needed a generator that would run this building, in 2003, Robbins Jewel would have been in the dark. We wouldn't have had anything like this. We run this whole building, the whole police department, the upstairs, the emergency management, the fire department downstairs. Everything runs off that generator. And in 2003, our borough yard would have been flooded. We wouldn't have gotten our equipment out of there. Now we have the new building. If push comes to shove, something happened here and our generator went down, I could go down and operate out of George's building under full power. So I just wanted to thank council for everything you've did. In 2003, emergency management was only a catchphrase. And now we're trying to do everything that we can for the residents. I know it was hard with the power situation, but I think we got all the information out well ahead of time. Everybody was prepared for it. And we virtually got very few phone calls in the office for people asking what to do. So, and anybody that did call, we were always up front with them. We gave them honest answers. We weren't trying to hold anything back. And everything worked out well for us.
I just want to say one thing. I'm here 11 years, and I take a lot of bullets for a lot of things that happen in this town. But people like you realize what this council did, and you just summed it up, and I really feel good about what you just said.
I do too. Thank you, Merrill.
Merle, is your wife still mad at you?
You missed, Merle, you couldn't wash your hands either in a bathroom before. You had to go to the water fountain. Before we adjourn, I just want to remind everybody again that the Christmas tree lighting will be November 23rd at 6:30 p.m. at the wharf. I talked to Jim's Tree Service today, and it seems like they're going to put the tree in on Monday morning. It'll be erected, and our borough crew will be out there starting to decorate it on Monday. So again,
Who's donating it?
Annette Gotzevin, it's coming from her house. So we got a tree in Bristol, and it'll be installed, I think, on Monday. We're going to do it this weekend, but with the storm, it's pushing him back another day or two, so I think everything's going to happen Monday morning. Any other questions, concerns? Motion to adjourn?